What's up guys, so in this video we're building this testimonial slider using React and a lightweight library called Splide.js. So let's just see what we'll be building. So essentially it's just a basic review testimonial slider, and you can see different reviews and you can toggle between these indicators. You can also drag. Yeah, so that's about it. The link to the code will be in the description. Alright guys, so essentially I just have a Vite application up and running. So if you are new to React, I'm using a tool called Vite, and you can install that by saying npm create Vite at latest, and you can write out the name of your project. So I'm not going to do that because I already have that up and running. So let's just run our development server. So copy this port, paste it here. Yeah, wow, this is hell word instead of a low word. Alright, so I also changed the name from Vite to testimonial gallery slider, like this one right here. Yeah, so first things first is to create a component folder to store our testimonials. So inside this component folder, we'll say testimonial.jsx, do refc. So refc is basically a JSX boilerplate from this extension ES7 plus React Redux. So now we need to bring it in here. By the way, you can do everything in this app directory. I just wanted to follow the normal structure if you are building an actual application. So get rid of this. So I brought in an image which is like a block quote, or which is a block quote rather, which is this. So that will be the first thing to import. So we'll just bring it in and say, let's call it quote. From go back 2 steps, say block quote .svg, and save. Alright, so what we have to do right now is essentially create a container to hold the entire testimonial. So we'll name this to, or we just add a class name. Let's just name this to section, and we'll call this testimonial container, and inside it, the first thing to do is essentially bring in a title, which was what we saw earlier, and give this an h1 called testimonial. I'm bringing a p tag, say what members saying. So So save this. Let's see what we have. All right. So stay inside the testimonial container. We'll create another container called slider container to hold the entire slides. And that's why we'll be bringing this block quotes. Inside this block quotes, we'll create an image tag. The source should be this quote. Give this a class name of quotes, and also class of top quotes, because we'll be using the same image but we'll be rotating one of them. So save this. Let's check what we have so far. Yeah. Okay, right now we need to bring in this data, so the image, the text, the ratings, and the name. So we'll create a file to store all the JSON data, and I already have the data here, so I can just copy this, go back to the code, and inside the source directory, don't just create it, just create it inside the components and say reviews data.js, paste it in here, save. So essentially we just have the ID, the image, which are coming from Unsplash, the name and the text. Cool. So let's bring it in by saying import reviews from reviews data, and inside this slider container we'll say bring in a div. Inside that div we'll bring in the reviews and map over each review, and also create another div. I'm going to give this a key of review.id, and inside this div we'll say first of all bring in the image, and basically say review dot image. I'll also give this a class name of review image img. Inside this we're going to create a div with a class of content, and inside that content we'll create a pic with a class of text, and bring in the text by saying review.text. Also we'll create another class called info, and this info is essentially storing the or housing the rating and the rating and the name. So we'll call this rating and bring in a span tag with a class of star, and I would say and pound 9733 semicolon. Now I'll hold shift alt and down 2 3 4 5. Cool. So outside this rating, come back and bring in another p tag with the class of user, and bring in the name. So save, and let's see what we have so far. All right, so we have the text, the name, and the rating for each slide. All right, now let's head over to the Splide. As you can see, it says Splide is a lightweight, flexible, and accessible slider carousel written in TypeScript. So Click on get started. This is installing it for typical JS file. I think it's the same as the React one. Let's just see if it's the same. So integration React Splide. Yeah, I think it's the same. So copy this. So open your terminal, create a new terminal, and install this. So give that a minute to install quickly. Alright, so it has finished installing. What I have to do now is essentially import two things from the package. The first one will be Splide, and the second one will be the Splide slide. Yeah, and lastly we'll still need to import the CSS class for it. I think it's called Splide.js Splide. Dist folder, a CSS, say Splide dot main dot CSS. So if you're wondering where I'm getting all this from, it's essentially from here. So to use it, we have to port these components, and here's a way to render them, which we'll be doing in a bit. And these are also the CSS. There are different CSS themes, rather. I'm calling the files CSS themes. So let's head over and replace this first one with displayed, and replace this second one with displayed slide. Alright, so this one has a property called options, and for now we'll set this to 1. So essentially per page means how many slides you want to show per page. So currently we just need 1. Alright, so this is not really looking good. So let's add some styling to it. So head over to our index file. I've already gotten rid of all the index and imported Poppins fonts. So essentially to use the Poppins fonts, you just have to go to fonts.google, search for Poppins, click on this. I already have it as a family, but you see something as get a embedded code and just follow the process, quite easy. Alright, so let's remove the default margin, padding and box sizing. So next is to set the max width of the image to be 100% and display it block. Alright, so next is to bring in a font and say Poppins sans serif. I also add the background color of F6, F6, F6. Yeah. So now we need to style this entire testimonial container. So we'll say testimonial container, Brighington, give it a max width of 800 pixels and give it a margin inline of auto to center left and right. So going to display it flex, give it a flex direction of column because without this fixed duration of column, it's going to stack in rows, as you can see. So 1, 2, column, and justify content of center, height of 100 vh. Yeah, I think this would be hiding. It's hiding title. So first of all, let's just get bring down the size of this image for now, and that should be in the slider container. To say slider container, and I think I called it review image, right? Review image. So say slider container review image, and for now let's just give this a width of 140 pixels and a height of 140 pixels. Alright, so, and let's just add an object fit to stretch the image properly. So object fit should be cover. Okay, so we're cool. Now let's just add some basic style to this title. So say title, let's just center it, add the margin bottom of like 2 rem, and let's get the h1. Let's just bump in the font size. Just leave that so. Alright, not bad. Cool. So we'll head over to this slider container and let's position this block quotes properly. So go back to the index file and say slider container should have a position of relative. Also going to have a user select of none and padding inline of left and right 1 rem. So padding inline means left and right. So, and this user select means user can't be able to like select the entire image, so you can't highlight it, you can't highlight this text. Cool. So now what I have to do is to copy this and get the quotes, which is this image, both of them, because they're using the same class here, and give this a position of absolute, and add the z index of -1 to push it at the back of the image. And for the first one, for the top quote, give it a position of absolute to a top of -1 rem and the left of -1 rem. Copy this, leave this as it is, or this should be bottom rather, just more like the opposite. And let's just say here should be 3 rem and the right should be -0.5 rem. And lastly, like I said, we're using the same image, so we just need to rotate this one 180 degrees. Alright, that's cool. Let's see what we have so far. So the image is right here, but I'm not seeing another one for this. Why is that? I think it should be minus. And obviously we didn't bring in the bottom class. Okay, so I'm kind of getting the same vibe. Yeah. So now we need to add a position flex to bring this text side by side with this image. And as you can see, that's what you would do here. So essentially, for you to be able to customize this, it's quite easy. I'll first of all, let's just call this a Splide customization, and let's give this a Splide class of Splide underscore slide, and add display flex to this. Now this is stacking by side, but as you can see, we don't have this here. So essentially this class is coming from, let's open our dev tools and light over this entire stuff. So under this first UL, so this is like the HTML code from the package. So sorry guys, this get rid of this. Okay, so this is what we're actually adding the display flex to, which is this Splide size. So if I take it from here, should bring it back. So essentially, if you want to customize it, you just have to use your dev tools and inspect whatever part you want to customize. But I won't be doing that for everything. I just want to show an example because I already have the classes for what I want to do. So for this slide, you can add the display flex to it and do whatever you want to do with it, as if you're doing it with a typical React code or a JavaScript code, which is kind of the same thing. All right, so we'll add display flex to it. Also align items to center. Give it a background color of white. Padding of 2 rem up and down and 1.875 rem for left and right, and also at the border radius of 1 rem. Alright, cool. So far it looks nice. So we need to have a gap here. So you can do that here. You can say gap should be 1 rem. Yeah, that works. Now we need to like style each and every one of all this stuff. As you can see, this is like circle shape, this has different style, this has different style, and so forth. So let's just do that quickly. So first of all, head back to the review image and give this a border radius of 50%. Yeah, nice. So now we need to style the text by saying title container. Inside the content, we get the text. I'll give it a color of 484646. Add the margin bottom of 1 rem and the font size of 1.1 rem. 1.1 rem. Alright. So next we need to style this rating. So do the same thing and get the rating, and by default span elements are display blocks. So first of all, split to inline block, give you is a line height one, and we'll grab the individual star and give this a color of FF65 FF6F59, and also bump the font size to 1.1 rem. So cool. So guys, give me a minute, I'll be back shortly. So we added the font size to the star rating. So for the user, we'll do the same thing and say user. Basically we just have the font weight, so it's a font weight of, let's say, 600. Alright, so as you can see so far, the package is already doing its job. So without adding too much configurations, you can slide, you can also navigate between each reviews, this button and these indicators. So first of all, if you observe, when navigating through the slide, this pill shape will kind of be flickering. So if you observe, you see, so to get rid of that, we just basically need to add, so what is Splide? Okay, so essentially add a border radius of 1 rem. It should be border radius. The same as what you add here. And this slide track is again from when, if you open your dev tools and you inspect, and you see it from here, slide track, so which is the entire div. So when we navigate through each slides, we won't get that weird flickering again. Alright, so the next thing we want to do, still using the classes from the package, is to bump up the width of, or the size of these indicators, and change the active state. For now, the active state is kind of white, so which is hard to see. So for us to do that, we'll first of all go to our code, and essentially the class is Splide pagination underscore page dot is active. I'm going to give that a background color of FF, essentially the color we use for our rating. So we'll save this. So as you can see, this is already coming in nice. And let's also bump up these buttons a bit. As you can see, the ones here are actually quite big. So we'll do that by grabbing this again, and let's just bring it Let's take it above this. So I'll give it a height of 10 pixels, and I believe the default height and width is 8 pixels. Give this an opacity of 1, because the default opacity is 0.7, so give it an opacity of 1. So as you can see, already making much progress. So the last thing to do for now is essentially to customize these buttons, and that is not as hard as it looks. So let's just do that. Let's go above this and just say class for it is called Splide_arrow, and this is for both the left and the right arrow, or previous and next arrow. So we'll give it a position of absolute, give it a cursor of pointer. I believe the default is pointer, so we don't need this. So the background color should be transparent. Move the borders. Let's bump up the font size to 2 rem. Give this a color of, what's the color code? 505050. A font weight of 300. And lastly, a z index of 1. Alright, so it should be on top at every time. We necessarily don't need this if I get rid of it. So it's still working fine, but we need to like place it outside this. So now we need to target each of the buttons. So for the previous arrow, we need to first copy this and say previous, say left should be 3.5 rem. Yeah, and for the next, just to do the opposite of what you did for previous, say here should be next, and here should be right. So save. Cool. Alright guys, so this is essentially how you can customize this, but there's still a lot to do. So we'll go back to the testimonial, and like I said earlier on, we just added a single property of per page, and you can do a lot from here through this option. So head over to this slide and go look for options. These are a bunch of options you can do or you can add to it. So let's just do a few of them. So for instance, the type is slide for this. So by default is slide. Let me just bring this in. So the type of carousel, to loop and fade carousel, enable the rewind options and so on. So for us to like change this from this typical slide to more like a fade, we just essentially come to the options, and say here should be type, and type of what, let's just say here should be fade. So fade. So if we refresh, so by the time we click on the next one, it should fade in and it should slide as usual. So there's another one called loop, but let's just test that out too. I believe I've not tested this one. Mansur. Do a quick refresh. So this is kind of, yeah, so unlike the slide that ends at the last slide, the loop actually loops the slides. All right, let's just take two more and be done. You can also add breakpoints. It is for the label. You can also add the label to that. All right, let's just try the speed. So there's another one called speed. I just give it 2000. So by the time we refresh, I'll click on this. So the speed changes. Yeah. And lastly, there's also autoplay. So when you set this to true and you refresh, so basically most of all these changes you have to refresh the page. So wait for 2 seconds, I believe. So it's working fine. So you can just go through the options and play with it and make changes to it. So what we're doing now is to essentially write the media query for smaller screens. So open our dev tools and let's bring this to the side. Okay, let's leave it as it is. As you can see, it's not looking good. So also bring this to the side too. So go down and say media query. So we'll say media max weight. Let's just say from 576 and below. We get the Splide. Can't spell. Slide and display it block. It shouldn't be displayed as flex again. And let's also grab this image, this review image. Also add a margin inline of auto to center it right here. And also add a text center to this to center everything in the middle. So we're still having this overflow here, which we'll be fixing in a bit. So next we'll get the Splide arrow. We'll still bump up the size or bring it down. I said bump up, bring it down. And get the individual ones. So for the previous arrow, we add the left of 0.5 rem and do the same from the next arrow and change this to right. And also grab the bottom quotes and give this a right of 0 to get rid of this overflow. So if I comment this, I will get an overflow. So essentially just bring this in. Cool. All right, so this is essentially what we have so far, and I'm cool with it. So you can also change this to, I didn't do this, so let me just do this. but the style is going to break. So our page, you can set it to be 2, and you can also add a gap between it. So let me bring it back to 1. Cool. So it's working fine and dandy. Alright guys, that is the end of the video. Please leave a like and subscribe if you found the video helpful.